Welcome back to another edition of The Odd Couple. And, James, people have been asking why we call ourselves The Odd Couple. And I think the reason mostly is that we're just oddly good looking.
That's it, man.
I think that's the whole
No
thing
doubt.
right there.
No doubt.
Because otherwise, we look pretty much alike.
Hey, they can't tell.
They
can't tell
us
them.
apart.
They can't tell, man.
So, James, this idea of people feeling entitled has really been in the news a lot.
Okay.
People that saying, I deserve this, my government needs to give me this, or my culture needs to give me this, or my ancestors have suffered, and so I have this due to me.
Sure.
All of us, I think, in one way or another, feel a little entitled, but there's a whole nation and a whole world, really, of people feeling entitlement, and I wonder if we could speak to that today.
Sure. I say entitlement is the decadence of our day. It's driving a lot from youth. And I'll just say this one thing to give you an example. I was in a neighborhood, and the kids were talking about going to play ball, going to practice. And one kid said, "No, I don't want to go to practice." And the other kids say, it was two other boys, they said, we have to go to practice. And then this statement, and I'm standing there and I'm listening, and this statement really got me. He says, "It doesn't matter. We're all going to get a trophy anyway."
Are you serious?
These are kids talking.
And it was probably true.
Oh yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
And we're living in that time to where, as a society, just everybody gets a trophy, and that's part of the entitlement that we see, and that mindset transcend from youth sports to because as these youth grow up, they grow up with that mindset that they're owed something, and that they don't have to work for anything, that everything is given to them. You get a trophy, for showing up, for participation, and
we weren't raised that way.
Right. And you see it being morphed into, then as they grow up, the mindset, you see it morphed into the workplace, to where, let's say in law enforcement, like I am, you hire an individual, and then in 3 weeks they want to know why they're not sergeant, because they expect things to be given to them. That source of and sense of entitlement is rampant in our nation, and in our culture now. So
this whole idea of I don't really have to work for it, somebody needs to give it to me, how does that translate into crime and some of the things that are happening on the streets these days?
Well, if when you don't get what you expect to get from your own mindset, then you still want it. It's not going to change the fact that you want that thing, whether it be money, fame, whatever. And so then you go to do whatever it takes to get it, and that often leads people down to a wrong path of crime and different things. But all because they feel entitled to something.
Some of our culture kind of lends to this, and politically there are people that believe in the redistribution of wealth, for instance. You have too much, so the government really needs to take some of your money and give it to people that are a little more deserving or struggling a little more. That balance isn't always a good balance, and it's not always a fair one, but it isn't always a healthy one either.
Right. Well, we should help one another.
Yes.
And I say that, even from a government perspective, a hand up is different from a handout. And
say that again.
Yeah, a hand up is different from a handout. And I believe in a hand up. And but people are expecting in our day and time too much a handout, and
Yes.
that's where the detriment is
Absolutely.
in our society.
James, let's address the church for a minute, because I think a lot of this comes back to us,
Sure,
doesn't it?
sure.
You know, the our welfare program in the United States was kind of taken from the church and placed in the government a
Correct.
few decades ago, which I don't think was a real healthy thing
No.
for us. It made the church more uninvolved with the community. It used to be that if there was a family in your community that was in need, it was the church that took care of them.
Sure.
Not necessarily true anymore.
Sure.
How do you think it's affected the church these days?
The same. I mean, the same. They're the people that have that mentality of expectation from somebody. Again, they want it, whether it's the government, whether it's the church.
Yeah.
And we should look after our neighbor, take care of one another, but not in the sense that we're doing everything for one another, where we're enabling people. And
Yeah.
let me talk. I told you on the Odd Couple, we just like keeping it real. Let me talk for a minute about the impact of it from a race perspective. We go back into the time of slavery and what was done through slavery and everything.
Right.
And so a lot of the black community and population feels that we're owed something.
Yeah.
That because we went through that period, then the government owes me. And again,
Because of my history.
because of the history.
Yeah.
And so the handouts should be forthcoming from government because of these past infractions, and we have to get past that. Again, the scripture, I like staying with scripture, because to whom much is given, much is required.
Yeah,
And
there
so
you go.
there's something that comes along with it. Again, I don't mind a hand up. And then after you receive that hand up, to get on your feet and to get established in society, then we got to pay it forward.
And that's the key, isn't
yeah,
it?
Yeah, we got to pay it forward.
Yeah.
So,
And that's the biblical mandate, is to who much is given, much is required. And man, that hand up, that let's begin to help somebody else now, and that person helps somebody else.
Sure.
That's kind of a biblical mandate in how to help each other.
that's it. Because this is, if we keep doing the same thing and expecting different results from it, then somebody has
Yes.
turned that insanity. So
Yeah.
we have to do we have to do better, and we can do better as a society. And it starts by re-engaging with our youth and to understand them, to get in them an understanding of principles of value, of honest work, of hard work, because we made it easy, and they think they can just slide by. And when
Life isn't easy.
and life isn't easy, man. Sometimes I was telling them before that, man, sometimes we put it on Satan, and we say the devil this and the devil that, but
Yeah.
man, sometimes it's not the devil, it's just us. And
right.
we live in a fallen world, and life happens, man.
Yeah.
Life
It does.
happens, man. And but if we are equipped to deal effectively with it, we can either succumb to the failures of it, or we can rise above it and move forward. And I challenge our young people, I challenge our listeners and our viewers to rise up and just seek those things. That's what the scripture says.
Yes.
Seek those things that are above, where Christ said it.
Exactly.
In Colossians. So that's what I try to do in my own life. I'm not preaching something or saying something that for you to do as I say and not as I do.
Right.
I try my best to live out these practices in my everyday life. And so I know it's not because I'm anything special, James, Rick, whoever you call me. I'm just a child of God that's out here, and I understand the value And I'm glad that I had people in my life, growing up in the project area in the Nashville area and being a product of government assistance and everything. I'm glad I had family in my life, that aunts and uncles that really showed me the difference. My uncle used to say, you got to apply yourself. You have to apply yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, and so that I still take that to heart to this day. That
James, there's a phrase that we use a lot these days. We're blessed to bless.
Mm-hmm.
And that principle, it is really the foundation of what we're talking about
Sure.
today, isn't it?
Sure.
You know, if I only feel like I'm blessed to be blessed, that's a dead end street.
That's dead end, man.
And I begin to become that same mentality of entitlement.
Sure.
Is I'm blessed and I'm blessed and I'm blessed and I'm blessed and I do nothing with it. I become entitled to the blessing that I think I should receive.
Sure.
When I'm blessed to bless, when I'm blessed and I think this is so great that God has blessed me, I can't wait to bless somebody else.
That's it.
Then I move forward. Then I get out of that rut. But that's where I also experience victory.
Come on.
And that's where I experience the kind of adventure that I believe that God wants me to have in this Christian life.
That's it. People say, man, you put too much Bible, you put too much things, but I've tried the other way. I've lived and tried my life the other way, and it didn't work.
No.
And the biblical principles in James, it speaks to that. It says, you have not because you ask not.
Exactly.
Then it says, you ask and do not have because you ask amiss, that you may spend it and on your own desires and pleasures.
Yes.
And we're really,
Yes.
as you said, blessed to be a blessing and blessed to bless, is that we're conduits. That's what we should be, that the blessings of God flow from us to others. And when we operate in that realm,
Yes.
it lessens that thing of entitlement, man. It lessens.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, folks, thank you so much for joining us again today. You know, this is always fun for us, isn't it?
It's awesome, man.
We can both talk, can't we?
Yeah, we can.
So what I want you to do is take a minute and respond, if you would. Drop a little note down below. Let us know what you think of the podcast. We could also use some suggestions.
Absolutely.
What would you like to hear us talk about also?
Absolutely.
Because we're happy to talk about anything. And, you know, we're both extremely knowledgeable about everything.
Hey, you heard it. You heard it here. But we do. For our viewers, man, send us your comments, any topic that you want to want us to address. We're going to be having some great guests on the show.
Yes.
So we're looking forward to a great time.
Absolutely.
Here on The Odd Couple.
God bless you. Have a great day.
Peace.